Ivy Slater, and you're listening to Her Success Story Podcast, a show where gutsy businesswomen share their success journey. Hello, and welcome to today's episode of Her Success Story. So, in getting ready for the holidays, and the holidays are around the corner, I ended up being connected to an amazing woman. I know I've said this before, and you're right, I have said it before because I'm incredibly blessed with the people I'm connected to and meet. Stephanie Rado, and I'm going to out myself here and say, I'm going to ask Stephanie to pronounce her name correctly before I completely mess it up. But I'm going to share a little bit. Stephanie is the founder, designer, and CEO of a lifestyle brand called Have Some Fun Today. She's a fine artist and interior designer who has had a career in fashion for over 25 years. In the spirit that deeply moved and inspired her after losing her beloved father in 2014, she has launched this brand. And for those of you who are new listeners, I felt an immediate connection to Stephanie, and it was such a joy to have her here today because I know the catalyst of when my father, the year after my father passed, was the catalyst that had me launch my business, Her Success Story, and Her Slater Success. So Stephanie, please welcome, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you very much, Ivy. It's a pleasure to be here.
So can you give me the correct pronunciation before I completely butcher it?
Yes, it's Stephanie Rado Taormina.
Stephanie Rado Taormina.
Beautiful.
Listeners, get that, and it's in the show notes. You'll also have Stephanie's complete bio in the show notes. So, Stephanie, you were really impacted by your dad, and that was a huge catalyst in you shifting the direction of your career and launching this brand.
Yes, my dad was a very positive person, and that was around me my entire life. And my parents were always so encouraging and supportive of me developing my artistic skills, so much so that they let me go to Penn State and have a 4-year degree. And then towards the end of graduating, I was courageous enough to say, I'd love to go to Parsons next. And they actually agreed. I know for me today, if my kids said that, I'd be like, oh, but they were all for it. So my father used to say the words, have some fun today, every time he spoke to somebody. At the closing of the encounter, instead of saying, see you later, or talk to you next week, he'd look at you and he'd say, have some fun today. And it would stop people in their tracks because
I was going to say, because, we're maybe not in the same generation, but not that far off in generations. And so your dad being an older generation, that wasn't necessarily the norm.
No, not at all. So it always got a chuckle but it went on for, I can't even tell you how many years. And it actually became part of his company. It was like on the letterhead. It was on the answering machine. It was when you clocked in. It was part of who my dad was. He was a bigger than life presence. And when he passed away 6 years ago, it was resonating. The message was resonating in my head for a while. And I was kind of in between figuring out if I wanted to stay in interior design or put more energy into my fine art. And my dad had always wondered why I never did more with my fashion, actually, because I kind of left the fashion world when I got pregnant and had my 2 daughters. And I think it always bothered him that I wasn't doing more of that. And so when this inspiration came to me, the morning that I was up having my coffee and doing my morning gratitude practice, I had this vision of a painting that said, have some fun today. And then right away, my brain went to the tote bag, and it went to the wristlet, and it went to the pillow, and it went to a t-shirt. And within what it felt like 5 minutes, I had designed a line in my head. And I called my mom and I said, Mom, I'm going to start a brand. And that was my, eureka moment.
So, and I look at it as that moment of inspiration, that everything is so clear.
Yes.
It's
Yes.
that moment of clarity of saying, we so often bounce from place to place to place. And then when something's clear, it defines that term crystal clear.
Yes. Well, yeah, it's like when it's so clear that you're like, I'm going to do this. There's no anything else around it. It's just, this is going to happen.
And when I heard the story of your brand and the impact, I said, more now than ever, this year, 2020, has been an unexpected year. A year that, I've said it many a time, but when we were doing our 5-year plans in 2015 and 5-year projections out and the strategic planning, in our wildest dreams, we couldn't have planned or foreseen 2020 in the way it's come down.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, the idea of that final goodbye moment, when you close the call, when you finish that conversation, you finish that Zoom, that social distance, whatever, of have some fun today, is more impactful now than ever before.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that was part of why my father started saying that, because he was a leader, and he was a coach, and he was a community. He was involved in the community and giving back, and he was a very successful businessman. And he had had so many surgeries. They used to call him the bionic man. So maybe it's when you are facing a lot of challenges in life and you realize that, you don't know what your tomorrow is going to be. So enjoy your now. And I think that it just didn't hit me when I was younger, because you always, life always just seemed to turn out in some way or another in a positive way eventually. And now today with this, it's like we're living in a surreal dream in a way. And you really don't know what next month is going to be like. We don't know what next week is going to be like. So it is a seize the moment, enjoy now, because you just don't know what tomorrow is.
So, I'm thinking about, so you have the inspiration and you go to start taking actions. And it always sounds like, oh my God, this just, I had the inspiration, it was crystal clear, called mom and said, I'm going to design this brand. I'm on it. What happens next? Because in concept, it makes it sound so easy.
Right. Well, what happened next for me was that I knew what to do. Even though I hadn't been in fashion per se for a while, I knew 7th Avenue was 2 hours away, and I sketched everything down on paper. I went to Manhattan. I went to the fashion information booth right there on the corner of 39th and 7th Avenue. And I asked for a ton of information, and they printed out all these forms for me. And I went home and I researched cut and sew shops. I knew where to look for fabric because I had gone to Parsons, and I had to, shop in all of these places to find fabrics for projects. And then I had to find pattern makers. I had to find a factory. And that's how I began. I just went right into it because I believe when you have an idea, you really have to formulate a doable plan. And then you just got to dig in and start doing it and whittling away at all the pieces of the puzzle. So that's how I began my process.
And so when taking the idea into then creating a tribe and customers, and you have been diligent. I've seen this all over, on Instagram. And how have you what have you learned so far in this journey? And we're all always continuously learning.
Well, I've learned it's almost like being in an MBA program.
They truly say, you know, building a business is yes, graduating an MBA program and a crash course in personal self-development, the fastest on it, and an accelerator program.
Yeah. So, okay. What is the question again? I'm like,
so share.
oh, what I've learned. Oh, okay.
What are some of the things you learned? You know, we always talk about like the successes, but also the obstacles that really bring you through a journey.
Well, I think to answer this question to start with is I've learned to sort of break things down, because I've been doing this pretty much by myself. When I began, I had a few friends who kind of helped me create a website, and I had a few friends who were good at graphics. So I really used the network of people around me, because I am an artist and a designer, and I knew I was going to hire professionals to do those things. But there are so many things to doing an e-commerce business, and I utilized my friends. I would sometimes learn what I asked them to do eventually, and then I would juggle, you know, the financials, so that maybe I would take over that job because I could do that then, and then I'd put money someplace else. So it was almost like this big puzzle, and I
like that analogy.
I was putting a puzzle together, and I was trying to build it bigger, and I would kind of see where I needed a piece, and then I would get that piece, and then I would see if I could keep that person doing that piece. And if I couldn't, I would learn it, and then I would get another piece. And so I've kind of looked at it as, you know, I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'm not afraid.
Let's look at that for a second.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay, because that's a really huge thing, is to have the wherewithal to ask and speak up about that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people struggle with that.
Well, I think and one of the things that I've struggled with, and I'm happy to share it, is you feel stupid. You know, here I am.
Well said. And I know I have felt that way.
I'm a 55-year-old woman, and I don't know how to do certain things that are the norm of way things are done today. Like when I went to Parsons, we drew with pencils and pens.
I'm with you.
And
exactly.
Painted, and did everything with our hands. Today, like, we didn't even have computers or phones. So everything is different. So I have to almost just be okay with, I don't know how to do this. And you have to be okay with, yes, you can, if you want to use the word feel stupid, that's what I use, because to me, it just feels like the right thing to say. But you have to be okay with that. You have to be okay with failing. You have to be okay with people telling you no. And not that it's easy, but I know I have a bigger purpose. So I have to keep on finding the puzzle pieces, putting them in, having very broad shoulders to handle, you know, the no's and the feeling of not knowing what I'm doing. And also to not feel that you're put in a box where you have to follow all the rules. And that's one thing that I've also realized, that I don't necessarily have to follow all these rules that other people created in a different time. And so I'm open to that.
And I think that's really well said. You know, I'm a firm believer of we need rules because we need structure.
Sure.
But that doesn't mean I have to follow every one of those rules. I could bend, I could curve. You know, it's not that I'm that big of a radical that I'm going to go break laws out there.
Right.
You know, but I'm going to see what I could bend and flex, so to speak, to have the best situations for what I'm doing, for the business I'm growing, and not be in that box of limitation based on rules.
Right. And also, you know, times are changing, you know, with the retail community, that's been flipped on its head. And now we have e-commerce, and, you know, there are different fashion rules, there's different industry rules that are going to change based on what we're dealing with today.
Yeah, and you have a choice. You could be a leader in the change, or you can be running and always trying to catch up. And you have an opportunity right now, and you're jumping on it to be the catalyst and the leader
Mm-hmm.
in where fashion is moving to based on a huge reconfiguration.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Also in terms of like, you know, the whole ethical issues that relate to fashion. So it's all up for grabs right now. It's the Wild West again, in a way.
What are some of the things that have challenged you in building this brand?
Um, Gosh, a lot of things. Not
In our age bracket, let's put technology on its side.
okay.
On
Okay.
its side.
Technology, I could go on for
Yeah,
a while.
we could both go there. And I just,
Yeah.
like, Stephanie and I are looking at each other as we're chatting today. And it's like, yeah, we just kind of mental telepathy both there. It's like, okay, so let's just put technology on the side.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, I guess some of the biggest challenges are, trying to, well, this one would be a good one, trying to get the word out.
Yeah.
That's a hard one. Because I feel like if my brand were known, like if more people knew about it, it would be in a completely different place. And it's hard to go from, getting the word out to so many thousands of people, as opposed to getting it out to millions of people, because I think it's such a great message. And that is one of my challenges, because often the way you do that is through investing in ways to do that, and it costs a lot of money. So I wish there were a way that was an equalizer for anybody to be able to get their word out without just being able to pay for the advertising. I think that would be really cool, and that's a challenge to me. So I feel like I'm always trying to figure out ways to connect with people that psychologically the message would get to them.
Right. And as more and more people resonate with the message, we can do that ask thing again and say, hey, if have some fun today resonates with you, share it forward, ask the next person and tag us.
Right.
And it's those little things, and it takes time. And, there's always that Rome is not built in a day expression, but who has the patience?
That's another thing, because honestly, when I was on QVC in the spring, I thought, okay, well, now's my chance to really take advantage of this momentum. And I would say that I probably like doubled the amount of energy I've been putting into this whole past year, actually, even through COVID. And it's all in this like rush to take advantage of the momentum. And then just recently, I'm like, what are you rushing for? Like, you're fine. It's going to naturally take its course. But I think that's almost like life in general. If people who are trying to achieve a lot, we're these super achievers. We want to stay healthy. We want to be successful in business. We want to have good relationships, all the things that kind of make up a healthy life. And so sometimes you have to put yourself back in check. Like, okay, I think I need to take a break and get away for a few days. Or, maybe I just sometimes think we get out of whack with how much we put into things. And sometimes we just need to pull back a little bit and say, all right, now take a breather, reboot, refresh, and then go back at it. And I think that's kind of where I'm feeling myself right now with my business.
So how are you getting ready for the holiday season with doing this, taking that breath now?
Well, the breath is only 3 days.
So we're talking in the scheme of business building, you have to pause, you have to take a breath to re-energize and move forward. And so, listeners, you can think about that as a mini breath.
Yes. I think it's like when they say like a cat nap, that's really refreshing. So every now and then I'm going, and I'm like, okay, it's time for a pause. So, but even as I'm away taking my little pause, I'm editing 500 pictures that I just had a photo shoot in Joshua Tree. It's kind of, I don't want to use the word addictive, but what I do is fun. It's a labor of love. I mean, while I was away, I get random messages from people who I don't know, who haven't even bought from the brand yet, but they send me a message saying, I love what you're doing. I'm going to be buying something soon. I love the message you're putting out there. So like, I know I'm going in the right direction. And sometimes I almost feel impatient with, reaching that amount of people. But, we're living in a crazy time. And just like I'm telling other people to have some fun today, I need to have some fun today and really appreciate my own message.
And I think that's so important to understand. We all must be practicing what we preach, in the same way. If I come in and I do visions and strategies and strategic plans for an organizations and help companies grow and scale. And if I sit down and I come into another organization and I do sales growth or leadership work and different things, if I'm not practicing what I preach in my own organization, am I being truly authentic?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So I'm just practicing what I preach.
I love that. Have you thought, and I'm assuming you did, what your father looking down at you would be thinking today?
Oh God. I mean, so many times. I mean, honestly, yeah, my dad, I know that, sorry, something just came on my screen. I know that my father, I mean, first of all, I know he's with me. Like I know that. And it was interesting when I started this brand and over the years, I rarely get that real sadness that lingers for a while. Once in a while I do, I'm not going to lie. Every now and then I'll get this deep ping and I'll think, oh, I miss my dad. But in general, I feel that his spirit is with me and is really guiding me through this, because this came from him. It really, really did. It was something I think he was trying to tell me. I'm sorry, I knew I had a tissue here just in case I was going to cry. I think it was something he was trying to get across to me. But long before I did this, and oh gosh, I'm losing track of what I was trying to say, but could you?
Yes, I'm going to jump right in, because I could tell you, I could see a vision of your dad as a man I've never met, literally wearing the t-shirt, and looking down and saying, damn it, girl. Yep. You're getting it. Have some fun today. Pass it on. And one slogan at a time, one person saying it, one person sharing it, is the ripple impact that we really have the ability to make an impact on the world. And if it's, a t-shirt, a tote, or various different things, where your brand is going tomorrow, the most important thing I hear is the messaging behind the proud wearing of it. And it's not just wearing it for ourselves, it's for other people to see it and share it forward.
Yes. That is something that we have discussed a lot in like getting, when you start a company like this that has like a vibe and a vision, you dissect it. And that is certainly one of the things that we have found. And we just have found that through people sharing with us their experiences. I mean, that is like, it's almost like that should become with the packaging. When you wear this, people will talk to you. When you wear this, people will come up to you and thank you. It's interesting. But yeah, no, my dad is super proud, and I know he's watching the whole thing. And I think you're right. I think as much as I wish this could blow up overnight by just somehow one person seeing it on the internet and going, oh my God, have you seen this? I think the lasting impact from it hitting one person at a time is probably far greater.
I think that's true. And I think, we all know things look on the outside world that they happen rapidly. And great business is built by great people who take the time and the wherewithal to do all the steps and complete it. And it's about the consistency of the action, not the rush to the finish line.
Yeah. I guess it just gets, challenging for people in this day and age where we want everything instant to somehow want instant, you know, Louis Vuitton or something like some brand that has just become such an icon of a product. But you know, it's the process. It's like a work of art to me also, you know, because I really feel that, you know, the messaging in just the way we show it, the way we make our posts, the way I wrote my blogs, the way I live my own personal life, because to me everything in life is integrated, you know, so it's just like a moving work of art.
Yeah, you're right. It is a moving work of art, and it's all integrated, and it's the verbal with the visual,
Mm-hmm.
followed through by the action.
Yes, it is. Yeah.
So,
So,
where do you see the company? You know, what's next for you? What's interesting? What's next? Because I know you have some fun things going on.
yeah, no, I'm really excited. You know, I mean, COVID has been a fascinating experience with my brand. It has changed my brand actually, because my brand was mostly sold in high-end resorts. And with COVID happening, it closed those places. And
Right.
so that business is just kind of like at a standstill. But what did happen was that I got on QVC and they loved it. And I hope to be back on QVC again. Um, but on the back end, it also changed what I'm going to be doing, because I'm no longer going to be manufacturing in certain places. And so I'm moving around my manufacturing. I'm kind of refocusing and looking at the message, have some fun today, as needing a canvas. And so for me, reevaluating what the best canvas is, we're really excited to proceed more heavily in our accessories and higher end accessories. Just and not in terms of like being exorbitantly priced designer handbags, which I'm a total fan of. But we want to offer things that are accessible, but also are very well designed and are very well made. And we want to focus on more natural materials, because we do want to be kinder to the world. And we want to also focus on less waste. So we want to use more recyclable materials. And so we're really kind of going more inward before we go outward. And we have a bunch of new designs that I'm waiting to see the first proto samples of anytime soon. And so I think it's going to change where we're going to be carried, because I would like to do a new, like a special one for QVC. I'd like to do something for them. But then I would also like to have more access to being involved with more higher end retailers. And also, you know, selling on my own website, of course. But so we're probably going to be doing less clothing and just focusing on things that are more of a canvas of stuff you can use every day. Because I feel like an accessory, a handbag, a computer bag, a briefcase, they're things that you use every single day. And a t-shirt isn't so much something the same, we don't wear the same t-shirt every day, but you would carry the same bag every day. So we just kind of want to focus on really what our brand is here for, you know.
I love that. So share with our listeners, how could they follow you? How can they get more information, follow you, Stephanie, and follow the brand and know more about Have Some Fun Today?
Well, we're on Facebook. We have a Facebook page. And I too have a Facebook page. I kind of long time ago realized that because I'm an artist, my life is integrated into my art. So like I pretty much share the same, you know, a little bit more personal content on my personal pages, but a lot of it's about have some fun today. A lot of it's about my philosophy of living and working and creating. And so Stephanie Rado Taormina is, you know, my name, and you can find me on really all social media. I'm not much of a Twitter person. and our Instagram is fantastic for Have Some Fun Today. And
that is true.
Thank you. I think because I've always been a fan of photography, like I just really get into it, and I do it all by myself. I haven't been able to hand over my social media to anybody yet, but it's a lot of fun, and I also write a monthly blog, and it's usually related to Have Some Fun Today. We always offer a great discount code because, again, to me, it's not about hoarding all the money you can make. It's really about giving people's opportunities to have your brand be accessible, and it just gives people a little more incentive to get something or to get a gift for somebody. So we're always promoting like specials every month, and this month we're actually doing a thing for breast cancer. There's a group of women who are fundraising to have a mobile mammography coach.
Ooh.
Women who don't have access to going and getting a mammography. So, my brand, they're friends of mine who started this, and I offered that my brand would donate 10% of our proceeds this month to this. And so that, we always do stuff like that. Really, whenever anyone comes to me, I'm always more than happy to give, because I think that's part of, what our mission is.
I love it. And I look forward to sporting Have Some Fun Today gear myself and sharing it on Instagram and tagging you guys. I know one of the biggest lessons that I have learned in life, and Stephanie, you have captured this, is there is no reason to achieve anything and rush and hustle and do everything in its brother if you miss the joy in the journey. And Have Some Fun Today reminded me when I first saw it, was like, this is the joy in the journey. This is the reminder to be present. Don't rush to that finish line and worried about being done, but have the fun every day, be in joy every day. And I thank you so much for sharing that, for building a brand about it. And this year, more than ever, listeners, follow Stephanie, tag her, and share this message out there. Have some fun today. Bring in your joy. Make sure every person you touch knows to stop and smell the roses in life. So, Stephanie, thanks for coming, and thanks for joining me.
Thank you, Ivy.
Sorry about that.
I just said such a pleasure.
It was, Stephanie and I, when we first met, we were able to kind of go on for hours, and we had to stop ourselves. So it was a lot of work for me, I will say, not to just kind of chat and remember to keep this on course, because there was so much and so much excitement. Listeners, remember, Her Success Story comes into your inbox every Monday morning with more great interviews, content, and really interesting people to learn and learn great tips from. So hit subscribe, and we will be there for you. What I'd love you to do is action number 2 today is actually let us know the biggest takeaway from Stephanie's points, comments, and brand of Have Some Fun Today. Let us know what hit you, why it hit you. I will tell you, when I was introduced and I read a little bit about the brand, it hit me because I remember my dad being the catalyst to building Slater's success. So thank you, my friend, and thank you for bringing the joy out. And thanks to your dad and his memory of knowing the important things of life. Have some fun today.
Thank you.